Are you trapped in a cycle of chaos, drowning out the silence with noise, drama, and conflict? You're not alone. Today, we're diving deep into the world of emotional wounds, coping mechanisms, and the struggle to find peace in a mind that never stops. Let's start with a hard truth. Sometimes the loudest noise comes from within. Our own thoughts, fears, and past traumas can create a deafening roar that's impossible to ignore. But why do we seek out chaos? It's simple: distraction. When the world around us is in turmoil, we don't have to face what's inside. Our brains are wired for survival. In childhood, if chaos was the norm, our minds adapted. Now, as adults, we subconsciously recreate that familiar state. It's a paradox. We crave peace, yet we're terrified of silence. The quiet moments force us to confront our deepest fears and insecurities, so we fill the void. With social media, with drama, with sex, with anything that keeps us from looking inward. But at what cost? Constant stimulation leads to burnout. We lose friends, neglect self-care, and push away the very people who could help us heal. It's a vicious cycle. The more we avoid our inner world, the louder it becomes. And the louder it gets, the more we seek external noise to drown it out. But true peace doesn't come from silencing our thoughts. It comes from learning to listen to them without judgment. And here's the crucial truth. We can't hope to heal our emotional wounds, and by extension our lives, without tapping into silence. If we fail to do that, we're only rehashing old patterns of thoughts stuck in an endless loop of familiar pain. Trying to find solutions for our lives with the same old thoughts won't lead to a change of circumstances. It's like trying to escape a maze while always taking the same turns. We'll end up right back where we started. Without silence, we have no access to different perspectives which could bring different results. It's in the quiet moments that we can hear new ideas, see fresh angles, and discover untapped potential within ourselves. Silence isn't just the absence of noise. It's the birthplace of innovation and self-discovery. It's where we can finally hear the whispers of our intuition, often drowned out by the cacophony of our busy minds. That's where mindfulness comes in. Mindfulness isn't about emptying your mind. It's about observing your thoughts without getting caught up in them. It's a skill, and like any skill, it takes practice. As you practice, you'll start to see patterns. You'll notice the recurring thoughts, the old wounds that keep resurfacing. This awareness is the first step towards healing. Remember, your thoughts are not facts. They're just mental events, like clouds passing through the sky. You don't have to believe everything you think. Now, let's talk about emotional wounds. We all have them. They're the result of past experiences, often from childhood, that left a lasting impact. These wounds shape our behavior in ways we might not even realize. They create protective patterns, what we often call coping mechanisms. Coping mechanisms aren't inherently bad. They helped us survive difficult situations. But when they outlive their usefulness, they hold us back. Take dissociation, for example. It's a way of mentally checking out when things get too overwhelming. In a traumatic situation, it's protective. But in everyday life, it can be isolating and even dangerous. Or consider the need for constant stimulation. It might have helped you stay alert in a chaotic environment, but now it's keeping you from finding peace. The key is to recognize these patterns for what they are: outdated survival strategies. Once you see them clearly, you can start to choose new, healthier responses. This brings us to the concept of emotional regulation. It's the ability to manage and respond to an emotional experience in a healthy way. When we're stuck in old patterns, we often react automatically. Something triggers us, and we lash out or shut down without even thinking about it. Emotional regulation gives us the space between stimulus and response. It allows us to pause, assess the situation, and choose how we want to react. One powerful tool for emotional regulation is the STOP technique. S stands for stop. T for take a breath, O for observe what's happening inside and around you, P for proceed mindfully. By implementing this simple technique, you create a moment of clarity in the midst of chaos. It's like hitting the pause button on your reactive patterns. Now let's address anxiety, that constant hum of worry that underlies so many of our actions and decisions. Anxiety isn't just a feeling, it's a physiological response. Your body is preparing for danger, even when there's no real threat. This is where the fight or flight response comes in. In our modern world, we rarely face physical dangers, but our brains still react to stress as if our lives were on the line. This constant state of alertness is exhausting. The antidote? Activating your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest response. Deep breathing, meditation, and gentle exercise can all help shift you out of fight or flight mode. Another powerful tool is cognitive restructuring. This involves identifying and challenging negative thought patterns. Are your thoughts realistic? Are they helpful? Often, we catastrophize, imagining the worst possible outcomes. By questioning these thoughts, we can start to see situations more objectively. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate anxiety completely. Some level of anxiety is normal and even helpful. The aim is to keep it at a manageable level. Now, let's talk about something many of us struggle with: the fear of burdening others. This often leads to isolation, which only exacerbates our problems. Here's the truth: sharing your struggles isn't a burden. It's an act of trust and vulnerability that can deepen your relationships. Of course, it's important to have boundaries. Not every person in your life needs to know everything, but having a support system is crucial for mental health. Consider seeking professional help. A therapist can provide a safe space to explore your thoughts and feelings without judgment. They can also teach you valuable coping skills. Now let's address the concept of numbing. Whether it's through substances, excessive screen time, or other behaviors, numbing is a common response to emotional pain. The problem with numbing is that it doesn't discriminate. When we numb the bad feelings, we also numb the good ones. We end up feeling flat and disconnected. Instead of numbing, try to cultivate emotional resilience. This is the ability to adapt to stressful situations and bounce back from adversity. Resilience isn't about being tough or stoic. It's about flexibility. It's knowing when to push through and when to rest. It's about self-compassion and self-care. Speaking of self-care, let's bust a myth. Self-care isn't just bubble baths and face masks. Real self-care often involves doing the hard things that your future self will thank you for. This might mean setting boundaries, having difficult conversations, or facing fears you've been avoiding. It's not always comfortable, but it's always worth it. Now let's talk about the concept of running away from our problems. Often, we chase new obsessions or distractions instead of facing what's really bothering us. The irony is that by constantly running, we never learn the lessons we need to grow. We stay stuck in the same patterns, wondering why nothing ever changes. The alternative? Turning towards our discomfort. This doesn't mean wallowing in negative emotions. It means acknowledging them, understanding where they come from, and learning what they have to teach us. This brings us to an important point. Healing isn't linear. You won't wake up one day and suddenly be fixed. It's a journey of ups and downs, progress and setbacks. The key is to be patient with yourself. Celebrate the small victories. Learn from the setbacks without beating yourself up over them. Remember, you're not broken. You're human. And being human means being a work in progress, always growing, always learning. Now let's address the concept of freezing or feeling stuck. This is often a response to overwhelming emotions or situations. When we freeze, we're paralyzed by indecision or fear. We know we need to move, but we can't seem to take that first step. The solution? Start small. Break big tasks into tiny, manageable steps. Celebrate each step, no matter how small. Progress is progress, no matter the pace. Another helpful technique is visualization. Imagine yourself successfully completing the task or facing the situation you're afraid of. This can help build confidence and reduce anxiety. Now let's talk about the role of adrenaline. For some, the rush of adrenaline becomes addictive. We seek out drama or conflict because it gives us a familiar thrill, but constantly living in this high-stress state takes a toll on our bodies and minds. It's like revving an engine nonstop. Eventually, something's going to burn out. Instead of chasing that adrenaline high, try to find healthier ways to feel alive. Engage in activities that challenge you in a positive way, like learning a new skill or pushing your physical limits safely. Remember, true strength isn't about always being in fight or flight mode. It's about knowing when to rest, when to push, and when to ask for help. Remember, you're not alone in this struggle. Every person you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind to yourself and others. If this video resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us reach more people who might be struggling with similar issues. Thank you for watching. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. You're doing better than you think.